Hello everybody and welcome back. It is another video in the series of interactive journal elements and pages, and you can see we're back with our source book. I excuse me, I haven't yet got around to decorating the cover, but I will do. But anyway, more importantly, where are we going today? Because in our last video we looked at these little flip pull-outs. Now today we've got something a little bit different. We've got a bit of a pop-up today, and as you will see there's three different versions I want to show you, but I think that in all honesty there's multiple things you can do with this, and if you do, I would love to see them, because I've just discovered crazy, I know, I've just discovered where to find the videos that you've put up onto my community page. So if you've put one up there and I've not responded, I'm really sorry, but I will do in the next couple of days. All right, so now that I've found that, I'd love to see if you make something with one of these pop-ups. Please do post me a picture. Let's share the different ideas that can be done and added into this. All right, I haven't stuck these into the source book yet because I think it's probably going to be easier to show you individually. And we're going to start with this one, which is the basic version, if you like. So let's pop this to the side. Now, what are we doing, I hear you ask? Now, when I do these to show you and to pop into the source book, I haven't necessarily spent lots and lots of time decorating them. Because they are just ones to show you and to go into the source book. So you've probably got some really, you know, you can do a lot more decoration and embellishment on these. Anyway, where are we going today? This is a basic piece of card folded in half, but when you open it up, you've got a pop-up. Now, we'll talk about the pop-up in a minute, but I think that this could have multiple interpretations in your journal. You could keep it like this and pop it under a belly band. You could stick it in and just have it with a nice image on the front. You could put a pocket on the front. You know, as I say, multiple interpretations of this. So let's have a look at the pop-up. We've got a heart here, and on this example I've added a couple of little pockets with some tiny mini tags. Now you could, and again, here's where you have lots of options. You could use this as journaling space. You could put images in here. You know, you could do all sorts of things. So pockets, journaling space, images, those are the ones I've thought of. You know, as I say, let me know if you've come up with something different. All right, so let's have a quick look at how we're going to make this. Now, if you've got 6x6 paper, this is a really good way of using some of that up. It doesn't have to be double-sided, and I'm not going to demonstrate with double-sided, but if it is, that's fine. So you can use up your 6x6s, and that's the size I'm going to be using today to show you these, but actually you can do this with any size piece of paper. I think it does need to be square. I'll think on that one. But anyway, I have done some smaller ones. I also think you could do a bigger one and make this the size of your journal page. So as you opened up your journal page, this is a pop-up page in your journal. That would also work. As I say, I've kept them to 6x6 for today. So we're going to take our 6x6 square and we are going to fold edge to edge like that with a nice crease, and edge to edge again the other way with a crease. Now I'm working with paper here, and I have found this sufficient. I wouldn't go, I think you could use a thin card. I wouldn't go for a too thick a card because for this piece, because it won't allow for the flexibility of folding. Right, so there are our folds. We're now going to go corner to corner just once. Okay. Now, we're going to manipulate those triangle folds so that they go in, and if you push your finger into them each side, that works, and you come down to a little square like this. Ooh. Now in this example I've used a heart shape. I have experimented with some different shapes and I'll show you one later on, but for now we're going to stick to the heart shape. So the next thing you need to do is to cut yourself a template. Now this is just a scrap piece of card that I had on my desk. I think it was, oh yeah, it was some packaging. The easiest way to do this is to cut yourself a 3x3 square from your packaging or whatever you're going to make your template with. Fold that square in half and you then get a symmetrical heart. All right, if you've got a cutting machine like a Cricut or a Silhouette, you could do it on there, but it needs to fit within the 3x3 square that you now have here. Now, important thing, the middle of your paper needs to be where the point of the heart is. You don't want to cut that. Now the easiest way I have found to do this is to pop your template on, draw all the way round, there we go, and you need some of this attached, so sort of probably a, gosh, what's that, an inch, maybe not, inch and a half. You need roughly that amount attached still, and then we cut out. Reminds me of I'm of a certain age. We made paper dolls when I was a child. They're all joined together. And doing things like this all reminds me of that. And if you cut it wrong, your poor old paper doll chain fell apart. There we go. And when you open it up, you will find that this is your middle mechanism. So the next thing I did was to make myself a second template, and as you can see, it's a heart that is just a little bit smaller all the way around. It's probably about 1/8 of an inch smaller. Yeah, I eyeballed it, not 1/8. Yes, 1/8 of an inch all the way around. But as I say, I just eyeballed it again. I folded it in half to make sure it was symmetrical, because what I'm going to do now is to cut some pieces to go as lining. I've got another piece of 6x6 here, and I'm just going to fold that in half. Now, depending on how many pieces you want, if you fold it in 4, you can cut out 4 at the same time. I'm going to do the same as on our demonstration one, and I'm just going to do 2. So I'm going to put 2 here. So looking at this has got a wood grain on it, so I'm going to hold my heart that way up, just so that I get the line of the wood grain along my heart. And again, very simple, you're drawing around your smaller heart and cutting it out. As I'm cutting this out, I want to say a big thank you to all of you who are watching, but particularly a welcome and a thank you to those of you who have joined my channel recently. I've had a sudden leap in subscribers, and right as I speak to you now, as I'm recording this, I'm hovering at just under 1,000 subscribers, which for me is just phenomenal. I never really started this channel to, you know, for fame and fortune. And I hear all of you who run channels going, yeah, good job. But for those of you who don't kind of know too much about me, we live in a very isolated location in the middle of the North Island of New Zealand. And where we live, we actually have no road access. We live across the other side of a river. And so to go anywhere, the first thing we have to do is get across the river. And then it's an hour's drive to the nearest anything, really. So certainly the nearest shop or anything is an hour's drive. And so my reasons for starting this channel were that opportunities, when you live remotely like we do, opportunities for being social and sort of sharing craft time and things like that are fairly limited, to say the least. We also, Mr. Jem and I, we also live where we work, or work where we live, because we run a tourist accommodation business, so we don't get out much. Let me just explain what I'm doing. I'm making these into pockets. If you wanted these to be journaling spaces, glue them down completely. I'm making them into pockets, so I'm just gluing up to about there. All right, just in case you're wondering what on earth I was doing. Yeah, so we don't get out much. And I started this channel really just as a way to kind of share and be part of a creative community, really. And so for me, the fact that you know, I have now nearly 1,000 subscribers is just, it blows me away. And I really appreciate it, because this has actually become quite it's become quite an important part of my life, actually. Yeah, all right, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to use the end of this piece of paper, and I'm going to use my ruler as a guide, which is going to save me measuring anything. It's going to give me a nice straight line. Yeah, seriously guys, I'm absolutely blown away. And I will be, sorry, I'm thinking and working at the same time. I will be doing a little video, so probably next week sometime, if we can tick over to that magic 1,000, I will be doing a video with a bit of a giveaway. And I'm not going to say too much about what that's going to be yet. But yeah, do keep your eyes out, because there will be a bit of an extra video to celebrate the 1,000 mark. All right, so you can see what I'm doing. I've made some pockets. I've made a couple of little tags, matching tags. There we go, inside done. And as I say, you can embellish these however you like. Now, to make the pop-up bit, do you know, I've been thinking about the idea of an image or photos on these pieces. If I was going to do that, I would cut the image down the middle. So I would use that same heart template, but I would cut the image down the middle before I stick it in, the same as I did last week when we were making those pullouts. Give me a minute, I'll show you what I mean. All right, I found an image, I've cut it out with my smaller heart, same size as these. What I'm going to do is to fold it in half. And I'm going to cut it, and the reason I'm going to do this, actually before I do, I'm going to ink it, because this is just magazine page and it's a little bit thin, and it's easier if I'm holding two together, just to ink that edge just so you don't see any of the white. Right, so I'm going to cut this in half. Now the reason, and it's the same as we talked about last week on the video, is that if you've got something going over a fold, particularly if it's going to be folded, you know, in and out, back and forth a number of times, one, you're going to get your image creasing, and two, eventually you will cause damage to the image. So it's actually better with any of these interactive pieces, if you're going to put an image over a fold, or anything over a fold, just cut it, and you can butt it right up to that. You see that's butted right up to that crease line. And if you're struggling to see where your crease is or your fold, just do it like that and stick it on. But you have to line up. You can't do that for the second side because you do have to line it up really carefully. Now, excuse me, my head's going to just pop over there for a minute. There we go. So that way, if you've got an image, you can fold and it will come out again like that. All right, I'm just going to see if I've got a similar one to go on the other side, and then we'll show you how to finish. As you can see, I got that second image on, and then I had a little bit of camera malfunction, and actually putting it into the cover, you didn't see. So I'm going to quickly show you. I've cut out another one. Imagine that this is decorated just like this one was. All right. Once you've got all your decoration on, whether that's pockets or journaling spots or images, whatever you're choosing to put on there, you need to make the cover. Now, if you've started off with a piece of 6x6 paper, when it's folded, it will be, the square will be 3x3 that you're cutting out of. Now you want to add 1/2 inch one way, double it and add 1/2 inch the other. Now I know that sounds confusing, but this piece of, so if you started with a piece of 6x6 paper, your cover needs to be 3.5 by 7. Okay, so you started with a 3x3. If it's folded like this, and that's probably an easier way to think of it, you need to cut a piece of paper for your cover so that when it's folded, it's 1/2 inch bigger in both directions than the square that you started with. Does that make sense? Started with 6x6, folded it to 3x3. This is 3.5 by 3.5. If I tell you that way, then you will be able to make a cover whatever size you started with. All right? It's easier when you're doing it. Okay, we're going to put our heart into the cover. Now this is card. That's the other thing. Your cover needs to be just a little bit more sturdy than paper. It doesn't have to be great thick card. This is kind of scrapbook card, you know, 12x12 sheet. I don't have a weight for it. This one that I've done is a thick handmade paper. You can see if I hold it there, you will be able to see how thick that is, hopefully. So it's probably about the same weight as this card. All right, I am going to really quickly pink the edge of this, just because. Just because. The rain has stopped now and the sun is trying to come out. It's been a grotty day today. Right. Okay. I'm going to use a slightly stronger glue than glue stick here, just because I want to make sure it stays in. Okay. Now the important thing to remember is there's your fold. There's your point, so the middle of that piece of paper. You want to leave maybe 1-2 mils from that crease. So you want your glue to give you a bit of wiggle room. You want to be centered this way, and you want to be just fractionally in from that crease. And once you've got that, push your heart down nice and firmly, and then the easiest way to do it is to glue this side. Fold it over, press it down nice and firmly, and voila, there is your pop-up. Now, depending how close or how far away to that crease you stick this will depend if it opens out completely flat or stays as a little pop-up like that. I think this one opens slightly flatter. Yep. So if you want it flatter, get it closer to the crease. If you want it to be slightly popped up like this one, give it a mil or two away from the crease. All right. I will finish this one off and add some bits and pieces into it. But this one, you can see you've got the pockets here, and some little tags which you can decorate and finish off. I've also got these. Now these tags came, they were in a bag of stuff I bought in the op shop, I think. If you pop slightly bigger tags in like this, and you've got some pretty lace or ribbon going through them, when you close up, oh, make sure it closes the right way, you will see them on the outside, but as I say, I don't mind that too much. And if you've got some sort of lace or ribbon there, it's going to look quite nice as a dangle coming out. All right, so there's your finished piece. That can be glued in, it can be popped in a pocket under a belly band, or indeed it can be glued to both of your journal pages so that it opens when your journal pages open. Okay, that's that one. Let me show you the next idea. Now this one, you can see I've just decorated the front a little bit of this. Now I'm just going to put my finger where it would be glued in, and I'm going to pull. Ooh, there we go. And you can see that this one opens right out. And again, I've just popped some journaling spaces in there, but you could do the same. You could put pockets, you could put images, you can put whatever you want in there. Now I am going to show you this one because this folds up slightly differently. So it's made in exactly the same way. So you're going to need 3 hearts to start with, exactly the same as we did before. Fold your paper, cut your shapes out, and we've got 3. All right, now what we're going to do, and normally I would ink the edges and things before I do anything else. I'm not going to do that today, just for the demonstration purposes. Now we're going to take our middle and we're going to glue just this top piece here. So we're going to ensure that our folded hearts are this way. So we need to turn this one around. And we're going to stick them together like that. And we're going to do the same with the next one. And you'll find that there's a kind of a natural place where they sit if you've done hearts like this. I don't think it matters hugely, but it's just the aesthetic of them sitting and folding in. You can have a check, make sure they're about even. Not too bad. This one could come out just a little bit. My glue stick will release. There we go. Let's just wipe that off. Ew, yuck. Obviously need a clean cloth. That's just put dirty marks on there. There we go. All right. So now the difference when you fold up, and I have to sort of figure this out as I go. One goes that way this one, the middle one, comes this way, so you sort of have to manipulate it a little bit the first time. And then your end one goes in as normal, and you end up, and this is where you can tell whether you've stuck your hearts together. Mine haven't quite come together. That doesn't matter too much because we can cover that with our cover. So what you can do now, am I gonna, actually I am just, look, that's still sticky. I am going to pull that off because it is going to bug me, and just realign that. Do you know, that might be a better way to put them together actually. There you go. I'll line those up again. Always goes wrong when you're showing someone else, doesn't it? Anyway, there we are. So you've got your 3 hearts joined up. All right, your middle one goes up and your bottom 2 go down. So if you think about these as a valley and this is your mountain, they all go flat when they pull out. All right, but they need to fold up like that. Now what I've done with this one is to make a cover so that this piece here, the last heart here, this heart will be stuck into your journal, and it will sit like this, and then you use the cover to pull it out. And again, you could design this cover in any way that you like. I'm going to do a simple one, the same as this, just to show you what I did. Now let's find, I'm going to stick with the black and white theme for this one. And so I have a scrap of black card here, and you're going to grab your shape and you're going to draw around it, leaving just, probably I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch bigger. All the way around. Now you may not be able to see that on camera, but I can see that pencil mark there, and I'm going to cut that out. There we go. Now at this stage you can get rid of any pencil marks if you can see them. You can tidy up any bits that you cut that you don't like. It's a bit like I always think it's a bit like an eye shape when you do them like this. So you're going to grab your shape and you're going to glue just on this first heart here. And you're going to pop your cover on, bearing in mind you've got an extra little bit. I'm just going to wiggle it around, get it lined up. There we go. There's your cover. And when you imagine, so this won't work unless it's stuck into your journal. Imagine that back heart is stuck into your journal. You can pick this cover up and you have a great big pull out. You see all of that? Yeah. And again, you know, you can put whatever you like inside. And it folds up. There we go. All right, so that's that one. Now I want to show you one more because I was curious to know if this was work just with two shapes as opposed to three. And I was also curious to know whether I could do this with other shapes. And so I made this one. And again, as you can see, I haven't spent a huge amount of time embellishing the covers or anything. I'm just going to put my finger in as though it was glued down. And again, the same way as with the three shapes, this pulls out to two. Okay, and you have one shape going one way and one the other. So exactly the same way as the three, you're just missing the third one. And obviously this one is a different shape. But the answer to my original question is yes, you can do this with 1, 2 or 3. I guess you could do more if you wanted a really long pull out. But the trick is to alternate the folds. So you have a valley and a mountain each time. And then it folds in onto itself like that. Now I will show you this. So if you can imagine, this is my original square and I just kind of cut a random sort of leafy shape really. And again, as long as you've got the pieces joined down here, I think any shape would work. It would probably work just with a square if that's what you wanted to do. All right, so having thought about doing it with a square, of course I have to try it out. And it does work, look. So let me show you exactly the same. Fold in half. Open out, fold in half again. And then across on the diagonal. And then put your fingers in those two and squish. Okay, so that's folded the outside inside out, but that's all right. What I did, once I got it folded like that, I took my corner rounder and just, it was a little bit fiddly, but it will do them. My corner rounder will do those pieces of those corners all together. It's going to turn me into a lion now, isn't it? Of course. There we go. You can do them separately. Okay. So then now I'm just going to fold this one back out the other way. That way. Gosh. Oh, my brain's scattered now. There we go. So you'll see we've got those like that. Now this is where I came unstuck, because what you actually need to do, are they the same size? Oh, they are. What you actually need to do is to measure from this corner, from the center out to here. Okay, you need to take this measurement to work out your cover. Now, and I worked this out, if this measurement here is 3.5, then top to bottom this way, you need it to be 3 3/4. Now, if you double that measurement, the 3 3/4, you get 7.5. which will be this way, but you also need to add 1/4 of an inch on. So double this way and then add 1/4 of an inch. Does that make sense? Play with it, it will do. Anyway, so if this measurement is 3.5, you need a bit that's 3 3/4 by 7 3/4, because what you're doing is putting it in like this. And I found when I used my original measurements that that didn't work, because obviously this is bigger. It'll make sense when you do it. Sorry, I'm probably completely confusing you. I'm not very good with measurements, I have to say, and I tend to work by eye a lot more. And if you're like that, what you can do is to grab your piece of paper that you're going to use as a cover, put this on, and you can go, okay, that's big enough that way, that's about the amount of space I want, so I know I've got to fold just there, and you can cut along here, fold it and cut, and you will have the same results. All right, where were we? Okay, we've glued our first side down. We're going to glue our second side down. Going to make it look pretty. Okay, my hole punch is not going to do those two because that's thicker. Oh. Nope, hole punch has decided that it's going to go on the blink. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, sometimes I wish I'd never showed you the extra bit. There we go. All right, let's have a look. What does our square look like? There we go. So, as I say, I think you can make this with any shape that you like. All right, everybody, let's just finish off with a quick look at what we've achieved today. So we started off with a simple one fold pop-up. We extended that, or we extended it to a different shape. There's our square, and that's our decorated one. And then we took that out to 2 folds. And then right out to 3. Now, as I say, I think there are multiple ways you can use these, and I'd love to know what you think. But for now, I hope that's been useful. I hope that's been another interactive element to add into your journals, to add a bit of fun and spice up your journal making. For now, that's all from me, folks. Thank you so much for sticking with me. We will be back soon. Ka kite anō.